So the genre of wrestling games is one that goes all the way back to the early 80s, and I'd wager we've all either seen, heard of, or played at least one. I mean, for me, it was the never-ending Money in the Bank matches on SmackDown vs Raw 2007, although there are countless others to choose from. Now, of course, like any genre, the quality of these games varies wildly, going from fantastic to average to downright horrible. However, I'd say a strong contender when it comes to bottom-of-the-barrel quality is WWC, or World Wrestling Championship for the PS2. Now, if you look at this game's cover, you might think, well, it doesn't look that bad. However, if you glance just a bit closer, you'll notice this. And if the Rockstar logo is an indication of good quality, then that is an absolute guarantee that what you're about to play is going to be fucking terrible. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's the Phoenix Games logo, and if you're unfamiliar with Phoenix Games, well, they're essentially the best in the business at publishing and/or making abysmal shovelware. For example, Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys, White Van Racer, and their infamous collaboration with Dingo Pictures, Animal Soccer World. So yeah, that should give you some idea of what World Wrestling Championship is going to be like. So without further ado, let's see how bad this game really is. So it should come as no surprise that the quality of this game is exceptionally low. How low, you may ask? Well, firstly, there's only 6 characters to choose from. That's right, 6, and they don't even give you their names. Now, I'm not sure if you can unlock more by completing the game, because due to issues I'll get to, I didn't reach that point. However, even if you do, it's not like it would make any difference. Because unless they have something especially exciting hidden away, playing as Yakuza, Clown, Punk, or Mr. Flame isn't going to be very interesting. Primarily because not only are these models stolen directly from another Phoenix game, but they all have an identical moveset. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many characters you have access to. Now, the way the game works is essentially just arcade ladder from Mortal Kombat. Just fight various people, work your way to the top, and once you do, you win. Although since this was made by Phoenix, they've managed to fuck up even the most basic premise. Because in any other game you'd simply beat your opponent then fight the next person in line. But not here, no. Instead, they all have certain point requirements that you need to reach before you can face them. Now, on paper, this isn't a terrible idea. For example, the ability to choose the fights you enjoy could actually work. However, here, not only has it clearly been done to pad out the playtime, but all the fights are the same. And by the same, I mean absolutely abysmal. Genuinely, the only variation available is the ability to change the camera angle. But then again, that doesn't change the fact that all the fights are fucking identical. On top of this, every opponent gives you a minuscule amount of points, meaning you'll be forced to do the same fights multiple times. And since they're all aggressively boring, you'll have absolutely no desire to carry on playing. Especially since this game is basically false advertising, since what you're doing clearly isn't wrestling. The way it functions is far more like a boxing game, which isn't particularly surprising since it's literally a reskin of a boxing game, more specifically KO King for the PS2. Sort of explains why this wrestling match has a 3-minute time limit and requires you to knock out your opponent. Granted, they have done some things to make it seem more like wrestling, for example, make the maps more wrestling themed, add some wrestling moves, and that's it. It really is just a paper-thin veneer to hide the fact they've fucking reskinned an entire game and re-released it with minimal changes. And since this is just a reskin of another title, it has all the problems that that previous game had. For example, terrible gameplay. And this game in particular holds the record for the least responsive controls I have ever experienced. No joke, unless it's a wrestling move, you will have to press a button at least 10 times before it actually works, which is annoying since the actual wrestling moves are completely useless. The pitiful amount of damage they do, paired with the drawn out animation and a time limit that's clearly meant for a boxing match, means using them does nothing more than drag out an already painfully dull fight. So unless you're really desperate to experience 47 minutes of this, then using them is utterly pointless. On top of that, the kick does just as much damage, if not more, and doesn't have a 5-year-long wind-up. So why, when I have that at my disposal, would I use anything else? Especially since I know that I'm going to have to fight this bloke at least 3 more times. I should also add the difficulty never actually changes, so the tactic of relentless non-stop kicking is effective 100% of the time, even with the delayed controls, so just spam circle and you'll win. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about additional content. And I'm actually saying this game has additional content is a bit dubious, since the Phoenix Games definition seems to be a bit different. Okay, so first up is Friendly Bout, which is literally just challenge mode without the point system. So essentially, it's what I've already described without a mechanic that has no effect on the actual gameplay. However, more impressively, they've managed to make a mode even more pointless and boring: Practice Mode. Now you might be wondering, wait, why does this game even need a practice mode? And the answer is, it doesn't. Genuinely, it's just the normal game again, except this time the enemy doesn't attack you and they're invincible. I mean, there's making the most of what you have, and then there's Phoenix Games. So that was World Wrestling Championship for the PS2, and it's just about as bottom of the barrel as games come. Now, I know I said Billy the Wizard was the laziest thing I ever played, but this really is on another level. I mean, yes, that entire game had one map, but at least its various modes were actually different. This, on the other hand, is just a boxing game with some wrestling moves. It's like if I bought your car, put a racing stripe on it, and tried to sell it back to you under the guise it's a totally different model. All the characters are the same, all the game modes are the same, all the maps are the same, all the menus are the same, and all the mechanics are the same. I mean, at the end of the day, can you even call this a new product? Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.